Hey everyone, this is ANDIVAX. Today, we're going to talk about the preparation of materials to create a remix package. This process assumes that you already have a completed project. I use Steinberg Cubase. Others use Logic Audio, Studio One, or Fruity Loops. It doesn't matter. The operations and actions do not depend on the program. Let's open the project. It is very convenient if we break down in advance all the tracks of our project by instrument groups. I use the following breakdown: drums, bass, synth, vocals, effects. Let's start to eliminate the unnecessary parts. Our task is to remove unnecessary tracks and effects to speed up the export process. We remove all plugins from the master bus. We remove all send effects. We remove sidechain, delay, and reverberator from all instruments and audio tracks that we will export. All materials in the multi-track should be dry, i.e. they shouldn't contain any processing that was used during mixing. Pay attention to the fact that if we have a special effect that is used for some sort of special feature of the track, for example, unusual delay, we leave this effect. However, when exporting the track, we create an alternative version and add wet to the end of the file's name, which means with processing. We delete all unnecessary audio tracks. In most cases, all tracks with effects, bass and drums can be deleted at once, except for tracks that contain sounds that have a special feature or the hook, i.e. recognizable part of our track. Now we start exporting the elements of our remix pack. At the very beginning, we are exporting MIDI parts of the project. We'll make sure in advance that the tracks containing MIDI have the correct names. It is preferable that these names coincide with names of the instruments relevant to them in this project. Pay attention that in some programs, muted MIDI will not be exported. Also, the MIDI export process, for example in Fruity Loops, is not as simple as it is, for example, in Cubase, and the project has to be prepared for export by special command macros. Prepare for MIDI export. Don't forget that you should only use this macro if you're exporting your export as MIDI. Do not save the project after applying this macro. Pay attention to the fact that it is possible to write the track's tempo into the folder with the multi-track's name. It is also highly recommended to name all exported files correctly. Note that the export process will be much quicker if before exporting you select not the main master bus, but the direct output from the instrument itself. But it is worth checking the peak levels on the instrument channel. Now we can proceed to instruments export. We'll perform audio saving with the following parameters: sampling frequency 44,100 kHz, bit depth 24. This is more than enough to transfer materials without losing the quality. After exporting an instrument, we immediately delete it to free up the CPU. Now it is the time for the last important element of the track, the vocals, if of course there are vocals in the track. I prefer to leave all the processing on the vocals, except for modulation effects, delay, and reverberator. I recommend to leave the compressor as an insert, due to the fact that in some cases a beginner will work on the remix, and perhaps he or she will not be able to make the vocals solid and controlled to the same extent. When all the materials are exported, it is worthwhile to archive our finished remix package. The following should be in the archive: remix pack loops, MIDI tracking, MP3 preview of your original track. I use WinRAR Archiver, but non-advanced Apple Mac users may have problems with de-archiving, as OS X by default understands only zip archives. On the other hand, the RAR format compresses files more effectively than zip. I also recommend to set a password on any archive uploaded to the internet to eliminate the possibility of stealing your information. After archive curation, check that it has the correct name and upload it to a file hosting service. I recommend sendspace.com. Note the size of file restriction up to 250 megabytes. WeTransfer.com. Clients of ANDIVAX Mastering, for example, have the possibility to upload files to my FTP server. This is all I wanted to say about the creation of a remix package. I wish you all the best to conquer the world charts. I'll be happy to answer your questions in the group ANDIVAX Reviews.